Welcome to another episode of One-on-One with Mitch Lafon. I am your host, Mitch Lafon. Joining me this week from Trans-Siberian Orchestra and Savatage is guitarist Chris Caffery. He has a new album called Your Heaven is Real. I'm going to go solo on this one, so no talk-ups, no co-host. But I will say one thing. I sat down with Chris just before he flew off to play the Wacken festival in Germany. And so we had this wonderful interview talking all about his history, working with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, what his plans for the next year are, what are TSO's plans for the next year, a little bit about Savatage and the band back in the day, and then and the new album, of course, Your Heaven is Real. Then the new album happened, or I should say not the new album, but the Wacken Festival happened where Savatage and TSO did sort of this dueling performance. And so I didn't want the interview to sound dated, so I got Chris back on the phone for an update about Wacken and about what is going to happen with Savatage now moving forward into the later part of 2015 and into 2016. So I just wanted to make sure that, we were up to date on our interview and interview content. So let's start there. In fact, let's start with the update and Chris talking about Wacken, Savatage, TSO, the whole performance, and where do we go from here. And then, please stick around and listen to the original interview that was done just about 2 days before the Wacken Festival, talking about Your Heaven is Real and his history. So here we are. We are speaking with Chris Caffery. Good day, Chris. We've done this before, haven't we?
Yes, absolutely. But
here we are again.
No time like the present.
That's right. Well, we did this interview where we spoke about your new album, Your Heaven is Real, and we spoke about Savatage and TSO and a whole bunch of other stuff, and which was only about 2 days ago or 3 days ago. And since then, you've played the Wacken Open Air Festival. Savatage did their set, TSO did their set, and then you did this sort of unique, coordinated performance, right, for the lack of a better word. And so I thought it might be nice just to get a quick update so that the first interview people don't go, why are they not talking about this?
Yeah, well, we didn't want to let anybody know what was going on. Actually, none of us really knew completely what was going on until that night anyhow. So we weren't sure what songs were going to make it. And Paul had been coordinating this with the production people and the video people and the pyro people for months and months and months. And we spent 18 days rehearsing for it. It started off with just the Savatage guys we were working, and then TSO came down with us, and then it was all of us playing together. And that's pretty much what the show itself was like. At the end, it was basically, Paul's whole TSO was on stage on both stages, and you have the drummer John O'Reilly from the West Coast TSO and Jeff, and then you had Dave Z and Johnny, and you had me and Angus and Al, and we had the new kid Bill Hudson that was working with us because Joel's out with Whitesnake, and then you had Asha and Roddy and Vitaly and Mian and Derek was there. It was just so many people, and it was so much work to put together. But I just really have to say that I can't believe how smoothly it went. I mean, luckily these are the greatest musicians and technicians on the planet, and even right straight down from the management and production. And it's just like, I tell people, it felt like I was just playing the bar down the road, and going back to Wacken. I mean, that was, Savatage's second home was Germany. So it was a giant welcome back Savatage banner. And we walked into that, the festival grounds, and it just felt like we were home. I walked up on that stage and I just felt so happy, and I didn't even have a tiny bit of nerves. I mean, to the point where before the show, I even still was able everybody's roaming around. I took a nap on the couch backstage. It was like, I don't know, it was weird. It just felt like where we were supposed to be, and it was the time for that, and it just really went amazing.
It really did. Unique performance, or is this something that you think, hey, you know what, when TSO goes out this Christmas, maybe?
You know what,
unique
I don't
performance.
predict anything.
Okay.
If I would have predicted this would have happened, then I should have my own freaking fortune telling store. So it's like I really don't know. I think we are all just stepping back from it and looking at the footage and the YouTubes and the comments, and just everybody's really proud of what it had went on. And once we digest it, and once Paul has a chance to figure out what it is he may want to do, we'll have a better idea. But for now, I think we're all just kind of um just looking back at it, going, "Wow, that was really
That was
awesome."
amazing. Yeah. Does this lead to a an album release or a DVD release, or is it just really listen? It
You
happened.
know what? I like I said, I can't answer any of those questions.
Don't know yet.
We film everything we do,
Okay.
with TSO, and we've never released a live DVD. So it's like, Paul will do it when it's time. And if he has the footage he wants and he thinks it's going to be the right thing to do, maybe he will. I like I said, I just was happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, it was pretty spectacular. Does that give us any other update on Savatage? Does it mean anything in terms of moving forward with that band?
I think it's the same way. We weren't really even planning on ever, the word on the street was we weren't going to play again, which I always hoped and believed we would, and we did. So John and Zach both sounded amazing,
Mm.
and we'll just see what the future holds. I mean, the ultimate decision for Savatage is up to John. It's like what John Oliva wants to do with his band, and what him and Paul decide to do. If they decide that it's time to do another record, then we'll do it. I'm here. I'm not going
You're
anywhere.
not going
So
anywhere, and,
yeah.
and you must have gotten that feeling, right? Where where the hair stands up on your arm, where you get that tingle in the spine. It must have just been an incredible thing for you.
Yeah, I was just smiling. I mean,
Yeah.
I was up there and I was just smiling. And in a lot of ways, I was like, I was like a proud parent too, because, you know, the TSO thing is something we were all a part of as Sabotage from day one. So when you watch it blossom from the first song to something like that, it's crazy. And I tell people with Paul, he would talk to me before we even released the first TSO record, and he would say things like, "When Trans-Siberian Orchestra headlines Madison Square Garden." It wasn't it if we hadn't even played one show yet. I mean, so there was a person that had a vision, and I think I was proud to help make his vision happen. I mean, that was something that we've done for a long time, and he was talking about when TSO played stadiums, and that was basically a large stadium full of people, and in that arena that we called Wacken. It's like it's it was amazing. Every single hand was in the air. Every person stayed from the first note to the last note, and it was a great feeling because there's generations of metal fans there, and people that never saw Sabotage when we used to tour, and people had never seen TSO before. But when they watched what we did and saw the musicians and saw the production, and can obviously tell all the work that went into it, it was a really great performance.
Yep.
It's
Really
something like I
was.
said, that everybody involved, top to bottom, should be very proud of, because I know that I am.
Yeah, and of course, Wacken itself is a very special festival. They've in fact already announced that next year's festival in August of 2016 is sold out. I mean, that's how much people love
Oh yeah,
that
absolutely.
festival.
Yep.
And since we're updating that, might as well update the "Your Heaven Is Real" thing with the album. It is coming out this month. Does
Yeah,
it?
actually, it was released in Europe the day after Wacken, so some people have already got it. And
Yeah.
the fan response has been really great. I'm starting to see. It's funny because you start to see reviews on it, and then sometimes you don't even know what the hell the critics are looking at. But I mean, it's like you got a record that somebody says is the greatest record you've ever heard, and you got somebody else that says I think your record is garbage, and it's the same. It's the same piece of work. So it's just kind of like somebody likes pizza with freaking pepperoni, somebody likes it without it. It's like I'm
But
really proud of the record, and I'm proud of what the fans think.
I
To me,
will
that's the
say one
important
thing
thing.
about that, though. That's what's so special about music. The fact that there can be a diehard Duran Duran fan and a diehard Kiss fan and a diehard Bjork fan, and we don't like the same stuff, but it's great that it exists because just imagine the world with one band where we all like the exact same thing. It'd be horrible.
Yeah, no,
You
exactly.
know?
And you got some people that no matter what, they know who you are, so they're always going to want to try to compare what you do to what it is you've done.
Right.
And it's like, I'm just doing these records for me and to make some music that I enjoy playing and singing. And it's
Yeah.
it doesn't matter to me what people think about it. I wouldn't do it if it did.
No,
It's like
but it's a great album, and Tishy on drums, Brian Tishy on drums. I mean, that guy's a monster. I
yeah,
mean,
no, it's really it's a fun piece of work. Actually, last night I've been home for like 3 days, but I haven't stopped moving. But last night I put it on in my bar in my house. I have a really good sound system, and I just sat there and listened to it. And I was like, wow, it's a fun listen. It's a neat piece of work.
it really, really is. And then quickly, anything in terms of solo tour dates or going out?
You know what? I'm gonna be looking at some stuff next year. I have to see what our schedule is like with TSO, because I know TSO is going to be doing some touring outside of the winter tour. So,
Right.
kind of waiting to see what I have with that. That's my priority. That's what I'm gonna, that's where I tell them I'm there if you need me. So I wait till that's done. There's been some talk about some festivals and some other things, and I've even been chit chatting with the Leva about doing some stuff with him. That's maybe possibly doing another Butcher record, things like that. So it's
Great.
it's gonna be an exciting next few years. I think the next 4 or 5 years are probably going to be like the greatest ones in my career. I think because there's a lot of peace of mind. It's like I don't have anything really that I need to prove or do. I'm just going to go out there and do what I do and have fun with it, and that's what I'm going to be looking forward to.
Yeah, important to keep busy. Chris, thank you for the original interview, and thank you for doing this quick update. Great pleasure, and the album is great. Your Heaven is Real is just a kicking album. So
thank you. Thank
check
you
it out,
much.
Folks. Thank you, Chris.
All right, Mitch. Thank you. I will talk to you soon.
Yes, absolutely. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
And there you have it, folks. My update interview with Chris Caffery. New album is Your Heaven is Real. Let's get right into the original interview that was recorded about 2 days before he flew off to Germany to do the Wacken or however you want to call it, festival. Here is, again, Chris Caffery. Chris, pleasure to talk to you.
You too. It's awesome, Mitch. Thank you. I'm exciting times going on here. There's a lot of good things happening.
Yeah, and of course you're a Kiss fan, so I need to talk to you about that too in a minute. But your new album, Your Heaven is Real, I've had a chance to listen to it, and it is spectacular. I mean, really spectacular. Just tell me a little bit about. I mean, it's been 6 years since your last album, so what made you decide? Okay, I've got these songs. Let's record them. Let's do something. It's time.
I mean, time kind of flew by, and when I started doing the solo stuff, there was a bunch of different reasons. I was doing a lot of writing, and then I actually was getting songs to people and started putting vocal melodies on things. So I started singing, which is something I really enjoyed. And then I put my records out. The one thing that I didn't realize once I started doing the solo thing is when you have something that has your name, everything becomes your responsibility, which is cool and all, but it's right down to the somebody in your band wants a 50-cent receipt for a toll, it's like it's on its way to a rehearsal or an airport. And it's just, there was so much stress and so many details and so many things that I had to deal with, where I was just used to being, if I'm Savatage, a guitar player in Savatage, I got to worry about knowing the music, writing my songs, playing guitar. That's it. You had somebody doing the merchandise, you had somebody doing the business deals, you had somebody booking the tours, you had somebody that was setting up, you had somebody booking the plane flights and making sure the band got A to B. All of a sudden, all of those jobs became in my hands, and I was working with specific people that were helping me, but still it's like I, at the end, had to oversee all of it, because it's like, as it being my band, and it just got kind of exhausting to do, and both John and Zach were doing their own solo bands. So when festivals were looking to book acts that had something to do with Savatage, they're like, well, we can take the singers and they could play the Savatage music, whereas I was going out there to be a solo artist and play mine. So in that sense, it became a little difficult for me to get, the festival shows I needed and some of the things that I needed financially to make the thing work on the road too. So it gets kind of exhausting, and I did House of Insanity kind of, completely on my own, but my studio really wasn't very together yet. And it's a good record, but it's not my favorite one that I put out. And I just wanted to do another one. I was doing a couple spotty, like I just did a couple singles that I released. I released like a couple singles online, and I just started to get the bug to put out another record again. So I really just decided last summer I was going to gather material together and write new stuff and get it going. It wasn't even like these were songs that were sitting around. I think one or two of them had been around for longer than a year. Everything else was written pretty much over the course of the last 12 months. To doing drums, and he had to have a studio where he did it. So I got him tracks, and he did the first 5, and then I just decided that I had to finish the whole record with him. So I had him do another 6, and I think that for me was which made it the most fun, because here it was, I had these freaking crazy good drum tracks that I had to rise up to, every way, with my vocals and with my production, everything else I was doing. So it was a lot of fun finishing this record and doing that.
Yeah. Now, I'm having a little squawking going on with the cell phone connection, but we'll try to keep going. Now, you were, of course, referring to Brian Tichy.
Yes, sir. But yeah, so I did the Randy Rose Remembered shows in 2014, and I just loved Brian's drumming, and I asked him when I was looking for drummers to do this record. There was a couple of people I approached. If he was one of them ones I wanted to consider using, and he had his own studio, and I got him 5 songs, and he got them to me right before I left on the last winter tour. And when I got back and started putting music to those tracks, I just realized that I had to have him finish the whole album. So I got him the last 6, and he got me those tracks. And it was just fun. It was fun putting my guitars and my vocals and everything on those tracks because they were so good. They sounded so good, and he married the music exactly the way that I wanted to, and it was just awesome. It was even to the point where I was going to have somebody else play bass, but I was having so much fun playing bass to his drums that I didn't want to even let anybody else do it. Yeah. So it was like I took the extra responsibilities on this record because it was fun, not just because I felt like it was something I had to do. It was something I really wanted to do, and and that's the main thing. I think that the solo thing started not to be fun, and I do music for fun. I didn't play guitar, for it to be a job. I played guitar because it's what I wanted to do and what I love to do, and getting back to doing this record, it just became fun again.
Yeah, and Tichy is great. I mean, now these days he's so busy with Dead Daisies, the Jeff Tate Operation Mindcrime. Do you think you might take this out on the road and bring Brian along with you?
Well, I mean, if his schedule is free and I have the opportunity for him to play, he said he would like to do, he would do what he can. So we'll just have to see. I don't know when my schedule is free yet because, Trans-Siberian Orchestra is going to be touring next year outside of the winter time again. So I'm just waiting to see when I am and when I'm not free. I mean, because that's kind of where my schedule goes around that. It's like, that's my priority. It's like I'm there when they need me for that, and then I try to work everything else around it. And
so let's talk about Trans-Siberian and also Savatage. Let me start with Savatage. The last album came out in 2001. Was any of this material on Your Heaven Is Real, stuff that you were sort of accumulating in hopes of a new Savatage record?
No. I think some of the stuff on my first solo records were, songs like Abandon and a couple of the other things I had. But on this one, I think maybe Arm and a Leg was something I had written originally, thinking maybe me and John might use it for a Dr. Butcher record. Okay. But none of the stuff I had for this was anything really that I was accumulating for anybody other than myself for once. I mean, it's just music I'd written for this record.
What is the future of Savatage? I mean, you've had Wacken this year. Where do we go from there? Is there more shows coming up? Is there an album coming up, or is it just like, hey, it'll be what it'll be?
You know what? I don't even really know at this point. I mean, we're rehearsing and we're having a great time, and there's a lot of laughing and a lot of fun, and everybody is sounding great, playing great, and looking really good, and it's just a matter of getting through Wacken. I mean, it's going to be a tremendously huge show, so it's like I have to just focus on that right now. I'm just happy the band's playing again. It's crazy. We're down in Tampa rehearsing, and this is where it all started for me with Savatage. The first place I flew in and auditioned in the first place. I lived and stayed with these guys, and there's a lot of memories here, and there's a lot of emotions going on, and as far as what the future holds, it's like I really don't know. I mean, we'll all these questions are going to really be asked on the day after that show.
Yeah,
answered.
Yeah, and I certainly hope. I mean, the band has essentially been inactive for a decade. I mean, there's been stuff here and there, some releases and stuff, greatest hits mostly. But would you like to get back into Savatage folk? Can you even do that with your Trans-Siberian Orchestra commitments?
You know what? That's really up to everybody involved, and I can't answer for everybody. So me, Chris Caffery, if the opportunity arises for it to happen and there's a way where everybody makes it work, I will 100% be there.
Okay.
That's all I can say. I like I said, my crystal ball's a little rusty, but I think that personally, I think there's a demand for it, and it's not like in a bad way. It's not saying there's any kind of a demand in a bad way, but I just think that the fans would love to see it, would love to hear another record, and in order for it to happen, it needs to be everybody, and everybody needs to be working on it. And that includes John and Paul and and the way the writing was and the way the records were done, and that same quality and thing that Savatage has always had. Especially since Paul got involved with the way that we just got so known for the stories and the records, being along the lines of the way that TSO was. That formula that Paul had introduced to us on Streets is just something that he'd had for a long time. He had the Streets record written and the Romanoff record and all these other things written, well before he introduced them into Savatage. So it's one of these things where, like I said, I think it needs to be everybody, and we need to do it the right way, and everybody, like I said, I can't answer those questions until after we've played and until everybody sits down and decompresses from this whole experience and says, okay, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're not going to do, And me, like I said, I'll be there for whatever does happen if it happens. And if it doesn't happen, I at least get a chance to play this music again with my friends and go have that experience.
Yeah, and worse comes to worse. As a fan, you could certainly get the band together and do the sort of the festival dates in the summer. Even if it's only 10 shows a year, it would be an event.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of different possibilities, and like I said, I'm going to leave the future up to the future. As of right now, I just want to get through this show and get to experience this thing, because it's what Paul has going on for this has never been done before. So it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Now let's talk quickly about Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I mean, here is this sort of progressive rock band, heavy guitars, doing a Christmas show, and you look at it on paper and you say, wow, what a failure this is going to be. And yet here we are, almost 20 years in, and it's a massive success. I mean, how do you explain it?
Well, you can explain it in a bunch of different ways. I mean, first of all, it's a holiday time of the year, but it's a rock concert.
Yeah.
It's got a different structure. I mean, we have the stories from the Christmas trilogy, but when it comes down to it, once the Christmas, the story part of that show is done, it's a full-blown rock show. One of the, the biggest ones, if not the biggest one that's ever been put into an arena. And I think what makes it work is that Paul every single year wants to blow away what we did the year before. I mean, he sets a standard for himself and for us. So it's like we want to turn around and blow away ourselves, because it's something that we like to keep raising our own bar, I think. And we keep the ticket prices reasonable as much as we can. I mean, it's like, so obviously as times go, some top prices have to rise. It can't be the same price it was 10 years ago, because things aren't. Gas is twice as expensive. Everything else rises around that. So, but considering, when you have 20 semis full of gear going into a 10,000, 15,000 seat arena, I mean, that's, basically you're putting a stadium show without the giant screens inside of an arena. And it is, I think it's something that people don't get a chance to see much. And I also think it's become kind of tradition with people. They may not go every single year, but they'll go and then they'll come back, or they'll come back 3 years later and they'll have 15 people with them, or they'll introduce it to other members of their family, and as big as it's gotten, I mean, there's still people that are still getting introduced to it. So I just think it's got its place, and we do something really different. It's very high quality. It's for what it is. It's affordable. The band's very, very good. There's thunderstorm going on like crazy here, but I think the musicianship and the singers and the whole production and everything is at such a level that, and people get such enjoyment out of it, and you can bring your kids, and it's good for people from 8 to 80. It's not, there's nothing vulgar, but it's still powerful. You have some of the heaviest moments in music going on, and you've got, I'm watching smiles on 80-year-old grandmothers with their 8-year-old, great grandkids and sitting next to them, and it's just an amazing thing. I mean, the connection to the crowd through the music and the lyrics and everything else that band is amazing. And that's something, like I said, Paul, he started that with us with Savatage. I just noticed there was something different. We had songs like Believe, and you go on the road and we'll play in somewhere like Sao Paulo, Brazil, or somewhere like Serbia or something like that. And you have these kids come up to you and tell you how that music saved their lives, and those lyrics or the song, kept them from killing themselves or whatever the case may be. And that's something really powerful. And with TSO being that time of the year, we'll get people coming there, and it'll be like a kid with his dad at that, or even the kid could be 30, his dad could be 60, and it's just like, we hadn't talked in 10 years, and we decided to get together and go see this show. And it's just something special that happens with that band.
Do you think it works also because of the limited sort of run? It's sort of like a November to January thing. If you went all year round, do you think it would work? Be as successful?
I mean, I think we've set it up to where we've become traditional to people. So okay. I think that, the one thing you don't move is that time of the year. It's December 25th is always that, and there's always a Thanksgiving, the last Thursday of November. I mean, it's just kind of the fact that we're set up around that. People have put it into their yearly routine. I mean, we released the tickets in August, or the information in August, and the tickets go on sale in September, and everybody starts setting up their holiday season and that part of time in winter. We've become a big part of everybody's lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Yesterday, I had a chance to speak with Anton Fig of the David Letterman band, and he played with Ace Frehley on a bunch of CDs, and he played with Kiss. I know that you've listed Ace Frehley as one of your influences.
Absolutely.
Can you just talk to me a little bit about, what it was about Ace Frehley that spoke to you, and specifically, because I know a lot of fans just love that 1978 solo album. What does that album mean to you?
Well, for me, it was kind of like being a fan of his. Mm-hmm. You became like, not that you would pick things, but certain friends of yours, like, I like Gene Simmons. I'm a fan of it, Paul Stanley. But, being the Ace Frehley fan, when you knew that his album was obviously doing a lot better than everybody else's, you felt cool, and it had really great music on it. And then, when he finally went out and did his Frehley's Comet record, I was really proud of him, because he came out and he kicked butt, and I got a chance to meet him and know him at that time, and it was I just idolized that figure, and his guitar solos, they always spoke. They were always like just as important as the lyrics and songs to me, because he really knew how to talk through his leads. They were simple and melodic and aggressive, and they spoke, and that's what I really enjoyed about it. He just is like, he was always just the coolest, him and somebody like Kaki Downing, were the ones where I just look and be like, wow, that's, I want to do that. It's not that I ever really wanted to put on makeup, but it's just, being Ace Frehley was just, he was that kind of an influence on me. As a kid, it was the first guitar player I really was like, wow, I got Kiss alive, and I would just stare at that cover and look at the Les Pauls and be like, one day.
On your release, Your Heaven Is Real, is that something you try to emulate, where you make the leads do, all the heavy work over the lyrics and over the rest of what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, as I get more into singing and I actually become a better vocalist, the need for me to try to not necessarily show off, but really try to focus on guitar and guitar solos, it's like I'm more it's like I'm more into the harmonies and the songs and the melodies and getting emotions out of the lyrics. So when I go to do my leads, I just make them part of the song. It's like, okay, here comes the solo. So I'm not sitting there for 2 weeks trying to perfect, the perfect guitar solo. I'm playing what I think is going to speak and be a really cool part of that song. And I think for me, it's kind of even helped the lead guitar playing because it's become a little bit more free and a little bit more spontaneous. I have the opportunities to overdub and change them and do what I want with them, working on it in my own studio. But I think that through being a vocalist, I think the lead guitar playing is something that, like I said, become more free and less stressful to me.
Right. You've done Trans-Siberian, you've done Savatage, but there's also been a period of, you're not in a band. I know Joel Hoekstra just went off and joined Whitesnake. Has an opportunity like that ever arisen for you where you said, oh, you know what, I'm going to go join whatever, Kiss or Whitesnake? Is that something that would be interesting to you to go do?
No, really not even sort of. I mean, the offers have been there. I've spoken to different people. I've had different gigs arrive. I've even auditioned for things and gotten gigs, and then went and sat with the people and looked at and tried to map out schedules. And there's always going to be this, well, I'm not available for November, December thing. And I didn't want to hold someone else back.
Okay.
And you know what? I really don't have a desire to stand in a photo with a bunch of people that I don't know and call in a band.
Right.
It's like I have a band. It's called Savatage. I have another band. It's called Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and I stand with those people, and that's my band. And that was never even more. That's never been more apparent and more where my heart and soul is going to be and stay than during these Savatage rehearsals, because it's just like I don't really want to stand in a photo with another band and say, all right, I'm in this band. And I'm not saying that would never happen, because who knows, nobody knows what the future is going to be. I don't know what's going to happen in 10 years, but right now it's just like that is not anything I have the desire to do. I make a good living with what I do, and I'm happy with my music, and I have my hot dog company, and I do my stuff when I'm off with my neighbor Jimmy Sturr, his orchestra. We go out and we play on the weekends, and I get to do music while I'm off the road almost every single weekend when I'm home with that. And then during the week I get to be myself, and I get to spend time with my family, and I'm developing more recipes and starting to write children's books and other books and do paintings and things like that. It's like I'm at a point right now where I really, like I said, I just don't know if that's something I would be into. I really don't.
Yeah, and I've got to say, I see you more as an innovator on guitar rather than somebody who would come in and just copy somebody's parts. And there's nothing wrong with that. Joel's doing a great work with Whitesnake, but I just see you as somebody that has this need to create something new rather than just sort of fill in. And oh, and by the way, you mentioned the High River sauces. You're doing that with Steve Seabury, who what did he put out? He put out his book a couple of years ago. Just tell me quickly about the sauces. What's going on with that? What are the plans with that?
Well, I mean, me and Steve worked together on some of my solo stuff, and he started working with sauces, and he knew I made some as part of the reason why he started High Rivers, because we actually were having a meeting, and a friend of mine came in for lunch, and I was giving him some hot sauce I made, and Steve just got a brainstorm about it, and we started working, and he's busting his butt. The company's starting to take off, and we're getting very well known and respected in the hot sauce world. And the ultimate goal is to break into major retail. But every single year we get more, better distribution and more awards, and it's a fun thing. It's actually more. I think the critics are more difficult in the food world than they are in the music world. We put out this stuff, and it's almost the same kind of thing where somebody will say it's the best hot sauce I ever tasted, and you look at somebody else and says it sucks. Kind of same thing happens with your record. It's like I'm speaking to you, and you'll tell me about your opinion on my record here, and then I might read somebody else's review next week and be like, oh, Caffery put out another fucking piece of shit solo record. It's just the kind of thing, the way nobody hears music the same way, and nobody tastes food the same way. So it's a fun thing, but it is a lot like music too, because you are creating something.
Yeah.
With it.
Yeah, but just to finish off with your Heaven is Real album. It was I don't want to say it was a surprise because that would sort of say that, but it was just a great revelation. I put it on and I previewed it, and it was just great. I mean, what was that song on there? Sick and Tired was really good. Just Fine, Arm and a Leg. Just a lot of great. How would you qualify it? I mean, I don't want to say it's melodic rock, but it's just a drive-in rock album, right? It's just great stuff.
Yeah, you know what? With this record, I enjoyed making it, and I think that when I first started singing, I was writing guitar riffs, and I didn't even realize I had to sing over them. It's like you wrote the melodies later, and sometimes that's difficult to do. And then you finish the song and be like, in your own head, you kind of always think what you do is good. And I would be like, well, I really like that song. But I think now I've learned how to be a good songwriter from a singer standpoint, and to make it more melodic when it comes to that. And my voice has really gotten strong enough, I think, to the point where it's a viable weapon, and it's almost as strong as an instrument as the guitar now. So it's like, for me, that's exciting. I couldn't wait to get the rhythm guitars and bass on these songs so I could go in and sing. I mean, the singing for me is so much fun to do. Yep. I mean, and there's no auto-tune, and there's none of that kind of stuff going on. I just go in there and I sing, and every time I do a record, it gets stronger. And, who knows, 30 years ago, if I decided to sing instead of play guitar, I might have freaking had a completely different path in my life. But I just always thought that singing was something you naturally had. I didn't realize you can actually teach yourself. So 10 years of doing my solo music, my voice has gotten a lot better. And then, that's the good thing too, because I could always make that music. And it's like you said, I go in and play other people's stuff. I mean, but I like doing that for somebody like Chris Oliva, where I can go play his leads, and he actually taught me how to play guitar. So it's like, I can go back there and recreate that stuff and feel really good about it. And, something like the Randy Rhoads Remembered stuff, where I have Randy Rhoads' family telling me that, like his brothers told me after I played, even again on this year's tour, he told me that his brother could not have played it better himself. Wow. So that, kind of testament I'll take for that. But, as far as the other thing, like you said, I do consider myself to be somebody that wants to create and not necessarily be in control, but, just have that kind of freedom.
Yeah, well, I gotta say the singers in TSO and in Savatage had better worry, because they've got competition right there with you. So
yeah, I think they know. They laugh about it. They listen to it and they're just like, "That's really good," and you can see them, get a little bit nervous about it, but it's all right. It's fun for me to know that I have that, weapon, as I call it, in my arsenal of things that I can do, and it's actually kind of cool because Glenn Drover is doing a record with a bunch of assorted different metal vocalists, and he asked me to sing a song on it, so that's a first for me. So
that's great.
I was really excited about getting that and having a chance to sing on somebody else's material.
Yeah, Chris, a great pleasure speaking with you today. The new album, Your Heaven Is Real, fantastic album, and looking forward to seeing Savatage and TSO in Montreal again at some point.
Absolutely. What the greatest music fans in North America are in Montreal, so it's a lot of fun to go there. I'm hoping to get back there soon. I know the TSO is going back into Ottawa this year, so we got Toronto and Ottawa on the winter tour schedule, and I believe we do the touring next year. There's going to be a nice run through Canada again, like there was on that last Beethoven tour. So hopefully we'll see everybody up there.
Yeah, looking forward to it all. I plan on taking the family out to the Ottawa show. It's only an hour down the road, so can't wait.
Awesome.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, thank you. And actually, something ironic about Ottawa, the Your Heaven Is Real, that title track was written about the experience I had in Ottawa, where I had allergic reaction to eating mussels, and I actually had died for 5 minutes, and that's what that whole song is about.
Really?
So there's my little connection to Ottawa. Yeah, the beginning of that song, I'm actually like recreating when I was on the other side, and I heard voices telling me it wasn't time to go yet. So that's a little piece of information about that song.
Yeah, silly question, perhaps. Was it a case of food poisoning, or do you have a known food allergy to mussels?
It was a food allergy. I have a shellfish allergy, and I didn't know about it. It developed as I got older. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We discovered the same thing with my son. He's got a peanut allergy, and we discovered it after giving him his 100th peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and then all of a sudden he puffed up, and you go, "What the hell?"
Yeah, exactly. It comes out of nowhere. I don't know what triggered it, but it's something I keep an eye on.
Well, all I can say is I'm certainly glad that that was you got it taken care of, and that you're here and you're making music and bringing it to the fans. So thank you, and
No, thank you.
We'll see you in a couple of months.
All right, Mitch. Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. And there you have it, folks. My completely raw and unedited first interview with Chris Caffery, talking, of course, about Your Heaven Is Real, the new album, what he was planning on doing with TSO and Savatage. There you go. Hope you enjoyed this show, and we'll be back soon. Cheers. Or as Bill Liberty would say, see ya.